Hello and welcome to this video on Raffia and what it does. Raffia is a tool used as a wrap for branches and trunks. It is not as commonly used today as it used to be, but still has adherents. The lack of popularity can be attributed in part to its lack of availability, no obvious benefit for many, and being an extra step in styling your bonsai that is not only tedious but difficult at times. Raffia itself is a fibrous material. It was originally sourced from palms, but fake or artificial equivalent raffia is made from cellulose. This makes something somewhat similar to paper. Raffia itself is used to make things like cord and for weaving. When treated this way, it is very strong. Despite being very strong, raffia is also very pliable. This is where it is distinct from something like straw. The straw can be very strong but brittle. It will snap freely when bent on the side, but you can compress it quite well. Where straw will break, raffia bends. Raffia is soft and can absorb moisture. When it dries, it does lose some of the pliable nature and becomes slightly more rigid. Still mostly pliable, but it provides more structure. The last of these features is very important, at least for bonsai. By soaking raffia, it will expand but remain soft and pliable. The raffia is then applied to the bonsai as a sort of second skin. The wet raffia conforms to every movement of the branch, but does not break. This is thanks to it being soft and pliable. As it dries, it constricts, and it holds tightly to the bonsai. This now goes from a second skin to something more like a cast for broken bones or damaged limbs. The process of drying means it binds to every spot on the branch. This is different to other possible options that can be used. The last part is related to its similar features to a cast, and also where it begins to perform its job that is not always obvious. As you bend and twist branches that have been wired, or you will wire, you can begin to break the fibers in the branch, or at least tear them to some degree. This weakens the branch a lot in some cases. The raffia acts as a support that mitigates the damage. Think of it as something like what a weightlifter wears for supporting their lower back. The wet raffia, as it dries, creates a bracket that even when the branch is not damaged, it helps to further support and guide the branch as it slowly dries and becomes less pliable. As with how you bend the wire and not the branch, raffia does something similar. It helps to distribute the force of your bending and positioning of the branch. The raffia acts like wire, but a very larger surface area of the whole branch. Remembering, it binds tightly to it. That means no one place is stressed to an extreme. This is somewhat of the inverse function of what happens if you twist your branch. It applies the force here and not provides support to resist force. Understand that the two can occur at the same time depending on where you're looking. If it's in the curve of a bend, it distributes the force. In those straight areas, or areas that aren't bent, it provides structure and support. Further to that, for a bonsai with a very thin bark, such as beech, this protection can be absolutely essential. And that is where the next purpose comes in as well. It acts as a buffer between your wire and branch. This is not as important for many varieties and species of bonsai, but it is a very useful feature. If, for example, you have a fast-growing species, or a species with thin bark, the wire can and probably will at some point cut into that branch. The raffia acts as a compressible layer between the wire and branch. This gives you more time to remove the wire, or if need be, leave it in place further for the branch to set in position. Raffia is often compared to things like rafting tape, electrical tape, or even simple painter's tape. And while it is true they have some similarities, raffia has several key advantages and disadvantages. The first and foremost is how it sticks closely to the branch or trunk after shrinking to dry, and being soft and pliable. This is unlike tape, which, apart from the fact that it often struggles to get into such close contact with the irregularly shaped trunk or branch, can often be very hard to apply by comparison. remembering one side of tape is sticky and will stick to just about everything. Even when the tree is completely nude of leaves, it's quite hard to do still. Beyond application, Raffia is a naturally occurring product, which has both good and bad sides. The good side is that it is largely renewable and appeals aesthetically to some people. Some hold the opinion that Raffia just looks nicer, and we can agree that a dull brown or black Raffia wrap can be perfect, but in other cases it is a pointless distinction, as no matter what you put on the branch, it won't look right. Unless, of course, we're looking at artificial Raffia, which can be a good option as it comes in many different colours. Conversely, something like tape, if you're using, say, an electrician's tape, will not break down as easily or readily as something like Raffia will. This can be more important in those areas that have a warm, humid environment, where mold can develop more readily and breakdown happens easily. Finally, there is cost. While for the most part, we have found Raffia costs more, there have been times where it is much cheaper, and your mileage may vary because of this. Your local nursery, big box store, or bonsai supplier might sell Raffia at an exceptional price for us, but for you it might be either average, below average, or above average. You might even find it at a craft store for a very good price. In some areas it could be a premium product, and because of that costs a lot more than even the more pricey tape equivalents. Because of this, and the variation in its availability and cost, Raffia can be more difficult for some people than others. This is all the more so since it is generally a consumable that is used once and then disposed of. Raffia is useful, but not all its uses are obvious on the surface. Sometimes it is what it does that you do not see that can be more important than what you do see. Second is that it's not needed for all applications and all trees. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense to use it. Certain species, no matter what you do, will need to be rewired, and so Raffia doesn't provide any benefit. They may have strong branches, and therefore they're going to break before they become weak enough to need Raffia. Conversely, some species will really benefit from it, and so its judicious use in the right way for the right tree is needed. It is that a lack of familiarity that has led a lot of people to disregard it as unneeded. They don't know where to use it and how to use it. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions you have below.